The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the speakers and not necessarily those of GEB America, Oral Roberts University, or their employees. This program is not intended to offer investment, financial, medical, legal, or any other advice. Viewers should consult a subject matter professional regarding any such matters. Hey everybody, I'm Dave Groves. Welcome back to the GEB America podcast. We're so glad to have you with us for another episode here in the studios of GEB in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And today we have a very special guest. We want to welcome Heather Turner.
Thank
Welcome.
you. It's a pleasure to be here with you, Dave. Thanks for having me.
You're the newly appointed, and I want to say this correctly because it's a mouthful.
It is.
The David and Barbara Green Center for Global Leadership here at ORU. And so you're the executive director, newly appointed.
Sir.
And so you have just hit the ground running over the last few weeks and months. So what's that been like? It's
been a blast getting to know everyone. So I started out, of course, this is the best time of year, I think, to do a listening tour at a university.
Right. No students.
You know, so it's a good time of year to do that. And I've been impressed by everyone's warmth and welcoming spirit. Of course, everyone here at the University of Oral Roberts has just been great. So it's been fun to learn what's going on already in the university.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of construction happening here, a lot of new projects happening, and so I'm thrilled to be here when there's so much forward momentum already in motion.
For sure, yeah. For those that are alumni, I always say you need to come back. You know, you need to come back and see what's happening at ORU.
A lot of transformation.
A lot of transformation and great stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff that makes you proud,
It
know,
does.
for sure.
It should be very proud.
So, I guess the question that is on everybody's mind is, what is the David and Barbara Green Center for Global Leadership?
You said that very well. It is a mouthful.
It is. We can just call it the center, the Green Center.
The Green Center for Global Leadership. Well, really what it is a place to build and connect leaders for the whole world. So build and connect whole leaders for the whole world is sort of the one sentence easy way to say, what is the center going to do? And it's going to do that for empowering and equipping students and staff and faculty here at the university, as well as connecting to and elevating the skills of industry partners. And so I'm really excited to get started on some of that programmatic work. I've been working day and night on initiatives as we get ready for the fall.
Right.
And so working hand in hand with Dr. Wilson on some of those strategic initiatives for the center to, of course, honor the faith and the legacy of David and Barbara Green, and what they've set in motion is incredible.
Right.
And so we want students and our external partners and stakeholders to be empowered and be inspired by that legacy of faith and stepping into what God has called you to be and who He's called you to serve. And so I'm very excited to step into those initiatives. And actually, we've already got some things in motion, so we're pretty excited.
Yeah, you do. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So I love that it's for not just students and not just for faculty, but staff and others. Because it's so important to develop leaders and to be involved in leadership at no matter what stage you're at.
Yeah.
So what do you think are some really key things that you're hoping to kind of start with when it comes to helping develop leadership skills, not just with students, but with people that are already established in careers?
Well, I've got a few E's because that's just easy to remember, right? So the first is truly to equip and to empower emerging leaders, so 3 E's for you. So that would be the student body focus. And that emerging leadership series will include things like leadership breakfast, where students can learn from industry leaders in all different sectors of society. So whether that be ministry or civic service, or if that looks like education or business sectors, that they can learn from those leaders. There'll be mentorship opportunities, some certificate opportunities for them to not only grow as a technician in their field of study, but to grow as a leader in that field of study. Right. So for example, if you're getting a nursing degree and you're going to be a great nursing technician, fantastic, but what if you're supposed to lead a group of nurses? Okay, what are the different skills that it takes to do that? versus just being a technician. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you're going to open a business, being a great technician in whatever that field is, whatever area you want to open, that's one thing. Then that's one set of skills. Very different often from running an actual business, leading an organization. It has different skill sets. So I'm thrilled to jump in with our emerging leaders for that. So that's sort of the student-focused initiative. And then next step, we would have the elevating the work and the skill set of adult learners, so executive education programming, so another E, executive education. So that might look like some continued education hours, professional development hours specific to leadership training and development. That might look like change management development, because as organizations merge, mergers and acquisitions and leadership transitions within organizations, which happen all of the time. An average CEO, I think, stays with the company about 4.5 years. So if you think about an organization, when they have those changes, there's usually a little bit of rub, right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to be there to support organizational leadership development. And so that might look like corporate solutions, where we partner with companies and ministries and organizations to find, okay, where are your gaps and how can we identify those areas of need, and then create programming, whether that's non-degreed certificate programming to help to fill that gap. And so I'm very excited about that, to work with industry partners to bring in, and that'll also give the university very in real time insight to what are these industries facing and how can we then meet a need. And so we're very excited about the sectors of society. We'll host roundtables and things like this to be a listening ear, truly to learn, and then to identify areas of need that we can then address. And then finally, the third thing is really to esteem, which is another E, of course. I'm a teacher at heart,
Well, you're in a good place.
Yeah, good place for that. So, but that esteem is to really recognize the great leaders that are already here on campus, the great leadership students that we have, as well as we'd like to set up a David and Barbara Green Leadership Award that at the annual events that we host, that we would recognize leaders within our community and around the world that we feel like example being spirit empowered and impacting the world, whether that's at the local, international scale.
So we'll talk about this a couple times. Let's talk about an event that you have coming up this year, I'm sure very excited about.
Very excited.
August 28th.
August 28th.
At the Regent Bank Global Learning Center. You're having it's an all-day event for leadership. Talk about that.
That's right. Thank you. Yes. So it is the Empowered to Lead one-day conference. And I'm thrilled about this because it's a prequel to some of the programming we're going to be doing at the Center for Global Leadership. And so what better way than to start out with a leadership conference, investing intentionally in leaders, both locally and whoever's able to attend internationally or domestically. We would love to have them there. But so we'll start out strong with leaders who are public servants, like Congressman Hearn will start us out as a opening keynote speaker, and that's from that industry. Then we'll have a Sectors of Society panel where you have Pastor Tommy Dawson with Life Church, for example. He's over 21 campuses of Life Church. Shannon Wilburn, who had 153 franchises of a business, and she's a consultant. We'll have Counselor Anthony Archie, so he's in the city level of civic service, and we'll have, so you'll get to hear from Dr. Reed Martinez. So you've got, of course, the provost of Oral Roberts University on the academic side, and talking about how to manage and how to lead under pressure with change management, with AI coming in. So we have some really cool discussion that we'll be able to go through with those leaders to learn from different sectors of society. And then the luncheon speaker is Sean Copeland, so of course CEO of Regent Bank. And so you've got that business, and he'll be speaking about the heart of a leader. We'll have a leadership assessment that everyone will get to participate in with some action steps and things that they can do as they go back and put into play some of the tools and the resources that they're learning that day. And then a leadership under pressure panel that will have great distinguished leaders on that panel as well. And then of course, Dr. Wilson. And this whole theme of the conference is made after his book, Empowered to Lead. So that's his most recently released book. And of course, it's got great foundational tools as well as applicable principles that people can take and then go put right into practice. And that's what I like about academics that are pragmatic. Okay, we're going to learn, but it's not just a theory we're going to keep in our head and put in our back pocket, but it's something we can go put into action.
Something you can actually do something with.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great leadership books, and there's a lot of great leadership events. I mean, there's not a lack of that.
Yeah.
But so often you're left with, okay, now what?
Yeah, what do I do
with this?
That's right.
Because I'm not at this stage of my, of my business or whatever it is that I'm doing. So it's so important. I love that. And for those that are listening or commuting, in the show notes, we've got all the information there, links, as well as to the book information. So let's talk a little bit about your career.
Yeah.
Because people are probably like, well, that's great, but who is this?
That's right.
That is on this show. So you've had quite a pivot. I guess it's a safe way to put it.
Yeah.
You started with music, Music Academy. I'm gonna try to see if I can get I may not get the timeline.
That's right. That's right.
And then you were involved in things with regard to the Department of Commerce in Oklahoma. Before that, the Chamber of Commerce for the city of Jenks.
That's right.
And then you've been involved in a lot of different things, I know, throughout your career. Talk a little bit about how there was a common thread and how that kind of brought you to the position you're at now.
I love that question. I do have a weird journey, but I think everyone sort of does,
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for it. God has been so faithful, and I'm just sort of blown away how He utilizes every single part of your journey, every season, to contribute to what you're supposed to do in this season. So that's so cool. So I started out with a Bachelor of Music Education degree, and I went and taught public school music for 7 years, and I loved it, but I wanted more autonomy. I had young children. I wanted to be super involved with all of their schooling, and so I tearfully resigned that position, knowing that I was supposed to continue teaching, but to do it in a different way that served our family better. And so I started Anthem Road Academy, which is a music school, and started with 19 students, and over the years grew to over 500 students a week that come in 4 different locations, and God just blessed it. And truly, the whole idea is just to discover potential in others, and then to help develop it into a marketable skill. And so I had a teacher once tell me, everyone starts out with a talent, but it's not honed into a marketable skill. So you can have a talent, but no one's going to pay you for it yet, or whatever. So to help people really identify what's that potential God has put inside of you, and maybe even call it out before they can see it. And it's probably a gift that I've been given to be able to do that. So my personal purpose is truly to identify that hidden potential and develop it into to a great opportunity for either an individual or an organization, or now I've gotten the chance to do that some with partnership, of course, at a city level, and of course with a lot of partners and support at the state level. So really I went from owning the business, I went back to school and got a Master's of Business Administration and a graduate certificate in nonprofit management. I really thought I'd open a nonprofit, have it all ready to go, and then I got the opportunity to be the president of the Jenks Chamber of Commerce, which helped me, help other businesses and connect with community and with quality of life. And so that's really where I got into economic development. And truly, I was a little bit into economic development before that. That happened just by default with opening multiple locations in different cities and learning, what's happening and how could we contribute intentionally with those communities to add value truly to and be a good community partner. And then after doing that for just right at 2 years, we had some great success with the city of Jenks and absolutely loved it. And truly, I had my head down, focused on Jenks, and I got a call from a headhunter for the state at the governor's office, and that's how I was asked, would you consider taking a meeting with the governor to learn more about this position, which was leading the Department of Commerce. Ended up being the deputy CEO for the State Department of Commerce, and then the executive director of CORE as they transitioned the organizational structure. And that gave me a lot of experience, international business, travels, recruiting businesses to the state. So the state has a motto that says we want to bring Oklahoma to the world and the world to Oklahoma. And I think of ORU as we want to build whole leaders for the whole world. We want to bring ORU, and truly we want to bring God's presence, His Spirit, all over the world. And then, of course, everyone that comes here, that we want them to have that same level of engagement and experience, that their potential is developed and honed into a marketable skill. So I'm very passionate. That common ribbon is truly just finding potential. I've been able to do that at the individual, like I said, and organizational, and then the city level, finding, okay, how can we build partnerships? What are some economic development strategies, incentive programs, things like this, to take something that isn't quite where we want it yet and develop it into something that's really valuable. And the same thing at the state. What are some mechanisms we can put together in partnership with other agencies or nonprofit or private entities to redevelop main streets, to incentivize and bring in new film production. That's a big part of what we did. What are the federal programs that we can take advantage of that will add the most value to the communities and the citizens that we serve? And so then when this opportunity came about, it's really just anytime you're developing, whether it's at the individual or organization, it's just people. It's one person at a time. It's looking at, okay, if we can develop the potential in every individual that we interact with, if we can pull something that God put inside of them outside of them and help it to be in service of others, and that's what we're all called to do, right? Our gifts are not meant for ourselves, but to be in service of others and to honor God. And so that's what I'm here to do, and I'm thrilled about it.
Well, and a university is like a little city.
It is.
And we're not a state school where we have tens and tens of thousands of students over miles, but several thousand students, and there's all the different things that kind of make it this little village.
It's its own ecosystem. I'm learning. Yeah.
Well, and I think that what's great about what you're doing with the Green Center is you're really, I think, helping to develop a real understanding to what leadership should look like in the 21st century to people that want to be empowered with God's Spirit and do things in a way that are not only moral and ethically right, but are part of their own kind of built-in destiny that God has given them.
Absolutely. And I think, you mentioned spirit empowered. And I think so many times in leadership, we leave that part out and we completely lean upon our own understanding and our own strengths. And truly, you can go so far doing that. And you know people who have common personality traits, who one of them goes in one direction and is successful, but maybe not in a God-honoring or others-honoring way. And you can see another person with those same strengths, same talent, same personality traits, who chooses to lean not just on their own strengths and understanding, but lean into leadership, truly the leadership and the guidance of the Holy Spirit, who empowers you to do things that you couldn't do on your own, to have favor in areas you would not normally have on your own, to have ideas that you in and of yourself may not be able to have on your own. So it is a secret sauce, so to speak, and it doesn't have to remain secret. But it's something that truly empowers you to do God's work. It's like His work, our hands, is what I like to say. It's His plan and His timing, His will, but done through people. Made possible through us saying yes and being humble enough to realize, I'm just a person. We can only do so much as human beings, but we have the Holy Spirit to guide and direct us and to inspire us. And my word for the year was inspire. I choose a word every year, and I looked it up, and it actually means breath of the Spirit, I think is what it means. And I'm like, oh, what a great reminder. Like when you feel you're inspired by, let's say, nature or art, all these creative, beautiful things that make you feel inspired and give you hope, they come from above. So it's such a reminder that the Spirit is present. It's just whether or not we choose to acknowledge and lean into that or not. And so at Oral Roberts, we choose to lean into it.
100%.
That's right.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you about is this idea of generosity as a leadership value. So part of the founding of the center was to honor David and Barbara Green's radical generosity.
Yes.
And so talk a little bit about how you see that as a core part of what you're doing and how you kind of want to continue to build that going forward.
Well, of course, the Greens example that in an incredible way, but really they're just following Christ.
Yeah.
Right? He gave his life. That's the ultimate gift that you can give. That's the ultimate example of generosity. And of course, the Bible tells us it's more blessed to give than to receive. And if we're a parent, you know that because as you give gifts to your children, you are so filled with joy, right? And so I think sometimes we forget, maybe out of habit of just, getting by, getting through the day, the rituals of the day, how blessed it is to invest intentionally in the life of someone else. And so that's what a leader does. A leader isn't just going somewhere and hoping they'll follow. You'll have followers for a little bit if you're charismatic or whatever. But if you intentionally invest in the lives of those that you want to lead or influence, or those that have potential to do so much for others. I think about the teacher. I had a wonderful teacher named Karen Smith Pearson who invested in me, and truly because of her investment, that's how I went to college on a scholarship, and that's then how I stepped into my calling fully, and then thousands of students are impacted not because of me personally, but because I said yes to what I felt called to do, but someone invested in me. And I had a really cool opportunity at my past university to be called back on a donor event and to sing a duet with a student who is a vocal student like I was 20 years later, And when I walked into the event, the student said, "Oh, it's you." And I said, "Hi, yeah, we're singing together today. We didn't know each other before then." And she said, "No, it's you. You own Anthem Road Academy." And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, that's where I went to voice lessons, and that's how I got a scholarship to get a vocal degree." And I was like, look at that. Someone invested in me, and I was able to fulfill that calling. Now, I invested in someone else, and then they were able to fulfill their calling. And so when it comes to generosity, it's not an accident. It's intentional investment, and it's a responsibility that we have, and that if we take that, we get to see incredible things happen. Sometimes you won't know all those seeds that you planted, how they've blossomed and how they've poured into the lives of others. But every now and then you get a fun little glimpse like that where you're like, oh, cool, I invested intentionally in someone else, and now look at the life that they're able to lead, and they can continue to perpetuate that generosity. So whether it's with industry partners, ministry partners, it's never a poor investment to invest in leadership development.
No.
I mean, when are you ever going to regret that?
Right.
It's never going to be a regret to invest intentionally in a spirit-empowered movement where you believe, like, every dollar that goes in to a program, to an event, to an emerging leaders series for students, or for industry gap filling, you know that it's going to be handled and stewarded with integrity, and that there's going to be incredible fruit from that. And so I would say, the Bible says, know us by our fruits, and we'll be diligent to steward that well. But that generosity is just, that's exampled in the Bible, and it's what we want to follow. And just in life, it's a good policy.
Well, and you talk about investment. Something I've told students is that great leaders add value to their followers. Otherwise, they're just fans.
That's right.
And if you
I
can't
love
do that, and I'll let you use that. Just
I love
give
that.
me a little credit. No,
I
will
yeah.
say though that I didn't tell you this, but I think we have a vocal mic, so we're going to have you do a song.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That's so fun.
I think that probably the biggest thing that I think is really interesting about what you're doing with the Green Center is that you're really kind of setting a foundation for what leadership is going to look like over the next decade, the next 20 years, as far as, like you said, it has to be at its core from the leadership values that the Creator, that God has given us.
Right.
And if we try to just take, kind of cherry pick the concepts or the cliches that are out there, you end up doing a lot of things in vain.
That's right. Well, and you mentioned value, adding value to people. John Maxwell also has a quote that he says, "We're valuable people who add value to people and who value people." And if you want to be in leadership, you really need to value people first, and then intentionally add value to them. And as you think about, what will leadership continue to look like? How will that change and evolve? It really comes down to, do you value the humans that are there? Are you there to serve? Are you there to accomplish a mission together because you know that it honors others and it honors God and it honors who you're called to be? Or is it really just because you want those fans, like you said?
Right.
I liked what you said about that. Because if we're just looking for fans, people, that'll last for a little while.
Right.
But eventually people realize, I guess they don't care that much about me.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what can you do for me, kind of a thing.
That's right.
So before we go, I wanted to, let's hit on again about the event, because that's the thing we want to make sure that people, if you've tuned in late,
that's right.
We want to tell you again, and if you're commuting, like I said earlier, or you just don't have a chance to write things down, in the show notes we have everything there, the link and all that information.
Yeah.
So talk about the event. I know you mentioned some of the guests that are going to be there. It sounds like it's a very, talk about value, value packed.
Incredibly value packed. It will be a very wise investment of your time, a worthy investment of your time and energy. The cost right now through July 31st, you have an early bird discount, so it's only $89 for a full day conference. That is a steal.
You get
It is
lunch?
incredible. You get lunch, you get coffee, we'll have some refreshments. There's a campus tour at the end if you'd like to participate in that and see some of the great new projects. It'll be worth it. There's beautiful things happening here on campus that we're excited to show off. But just incredible networking opportunities, diversify your network. This is a lot of things that you go to, you sort of see the same people at.
Right.
But because this is such a diverse sectors of society guest list, you really will interact with people from all the different sectors of society, or many of them. I guess I shouldn't use the word all, but many different sectors of society. And that's unique because so often you go to certain events and it's just your business sector, or it's just your ministry sector, or maybe just nonprofits, and this is going to be a great mix of all of those.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great opportunity. So August 28th, right here at the Center for Global Learning here on the campus, and the programming starts at 9 a.m. And ends at 2. We have a little networking moment, and then we have the campus tour. So it's a great day. It's a Friday,
Yeah,
so
great. Great thing to do. Tell the boss you need to do this. Or if you're a boss, bring your leaders.
Right, and they'll get a
Invest
certificate.
in your people.
That's right. Invest intentionally in your people. It's a great retention method, and they'll get a professional development certificate for hours of training and leadership development. So everybody that participates, they'll also walk away with an Empowered to Lead book. And he'll just hear from incredible leaders. So it's going to be a great day. I hope everyone will join us.
Well, and if people want to see the studio,
that's
we're
right.
here
This
too.
is a great.
We'd be happy to show them the studio as well.
That's right.
I think that one of the great things about the event is that you are keeping such a diversity of the leaders, and I think that's what, because you're right, you tend to have a niche, but having the ability to hear from different people in different areas, I think is really beneficial to a lot of people. And it's not, I think too, and I was reading some on it, it's not just another kind of a rah-rah leadership thing, like here's your four new pillars for your business, and now go sell more, so I think that's really good.
It is. Every person will walk away with individualized leadership. We have leadership labs throughout the day between sessions, and they'll walk away with the personalized leadership action plan.
Yeah.
And so whether you're from a small business or organization, or you're coming from corporate and you've got a large organization and you're looking for change management, steps that you can take to go back and empower and encourage your team. This is just a great opportunity. So invest in your team. It's low-hanging fruit right here, local, and so
Yeah.
you can go and register today. Registration's open.
Okay. Well, Heather, I really appreciate you coming over.
Thank you so much for
and
having me.
spending some time to talk about the center and what's happening and the exciting new things that you're building, and of course the event coming up in August. We look forward to that as well. And I know we'll be talking more in the future about other things you've got on the horizon. I know that there's some big things, so that's exciting. So thank you so much for taking the time to come out in the Oklahoma heat
That's
to
right.
the very air-conditioned studio.
I'm so thankful
at
for
GEB.
AC. Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a good thing that in the studio world we keep it really extra cold. 'Cause
It
all the
is
lights.
cold, but it's nice. There are no complaints when it's like 100 outside. So
Well, thank you again,
Thank you
and I
so
want to
much,
thank
Dave.
all of our listeners and viewers for being here. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube. I'm Dave Groves, and we'll see you on the next GEB America podcast.